All right, let me tell you about my little slice of suburbia. I live in one of those picture-perfect neighborhoods. You know the kind. Every lawn trimmed to identical precision, trash bins lined up at exactly 7 a.m. on Tuesdays, and the Homeowners Association ruling the streets like a tiny, well-dressed dictatorship. Now, I'm a beekeeper. It's my passion, my side hustle, and honestly, my therapy. My bees are my pride and joy, and the honey they make? Pure liquid gold. The issue? My next-door neighbor. Let's call her Brenda. From the day I installed my first hive, Brenda was watching. She'd peer over the fence with a look of dramatic outrage plastered across her face. "Those insects," she'd huff, "are a danger. What if one stings my precious Fluffy?" Fluffy, by the way, was her pampered Persian cat who, as far as I'd ever seen, never stepped a paw outside. I tried to reason with her. I explained how gentle honeybees are, how vital they are for pollination. I even offered her a complimentary jar of honey. She wrinkled her nose and replied, "I don't want your bug juice." Naturally, the HOA got involved. Letters, official warnings, threats of fines. I had to prove my bees weren't aggressive, that I complied with every local regulation, that I was a licensed and responsible apiarist. It was exhausting, but I won. The hive stayed. Brenda, however, was livid. Every time she saw me tending to my bees, she looked like she might spontaneously combust. Summer rolled in beautifully, and my bees thrived. I harvested some of the finest honey I'd ever produced, a dark, rich wildflower blend that sold out instantly at farmers markets for premium prices. I kept a few select jars for myself, my private reserve, stored inside a small locked cabinet on my back patio. That's when things got strange. One jar disappeared. At first, I blamed myself. Maybe I'd taken to market and forgotten, but then another vanished, and another. This was my best batch. Someone was stealing it. I checked my security camera footage, but the angle missed the patio cabinet completely. It covered the main yard, not that specific corner. Still, I knew this wasn't random. This felt personal, and my suspicion landed squarely on Brenda. The woman who called my honey bug juice was likely sneaking over to steal it. The irony was almost poetic, but I needed proof. Accusing her without evidence would only bring the HOA down on me again, and next time they might not rule in my favor. So I paid closer attention. I noticed smudges on the cabinet latch, a faint sweet scent drifting near her side of the fence. Then one afternoon, while chatting with another neighbor, David, he casually mentioned Brenda made the most incredible honey glaze cake for the bake sale. Said it was an old family recipe. My stomach dropped. Brenda couldn't bake to save her life. If there was honey involved, it was mine. That's when the idea began forming. Bold, risky, but irresistible. Our neighborhood borders a large wooded conservation area. We often see wildlife, deer, foxes, and most notably, black bears. They're usually shy, but everyone knows the rule. Never leave food out, especially sweet-smelling food. Coincidentally, I had recently purchased a bear attractant for my apiary. It's a highly concentrated liquid that smells powerfully like honeycomb and berries. Beekeepers sometimes use it carefully to lure nuisance bears away from hives into relocation traps. The label might as well have read, "Bears will come," and that's when inspiration struck. That weekend, I harvested fresh honey. Then I took an empty jar and filled it with cheap corn syrup for appearance. Into that jar, I poured a very generous amount of bear attractant. The scent was overwhelming, like honey amplified 100 times. I placed my fanciest private reserve label on it and set the jar prominently at the front of an unlocked cabinet. Then I adjusted my security camera. Just a slight reposition, enough to capture the cabinet in the path from Brenda's garden. Now I waited. That evening, I sat in my armchair with tea and my laptop, watching a live feed. As the sun dipped low, shadows stretched across the yard. For a while, nothing happened. Then, at dusk, movement. A shadow slipped through a gap in the fence. Brenda, wrapped in a dark dressing gown, moving with exaggerated stealth. She crept across the lawn, glanced around, and hurried to the cabinet. She fiddled with the latch. Then her face brightened as she spotted the jar. She lifted it like a trophy, a smug grin forming. Tucking it under her arm, she turned toward the fence. And that's when our other visitors appeared. From the edge of the woods, two young black bears wandered into view. Not massive, but unmistakably bears. Their noses twitched, drawn by the powerful scent. Brenda froze. Her eyes widened dramatically. The bears hadn't noticed her yet. They were focused on the jar. One gave a curious low woof. That did it. Brenda unleashed a full-blown horror movie scream that echoed through the neighborhood. She dropped the jar, which landed softly in the grass. The bears startled and shifted their attention to her. Not aggressive, just curious. But Brenda didn't see curiosity. She saw doom. She bolted, not gracefully. She stumbled, nearly tripping over herself, her robe flapping wildly as she scrambled back through the fence gap, shrieking the entire time. The bears, meanwhile, inspected the fallen jar, nudged it a few times, and apparently unimpressed with corn syrup, wandered back into the woods. Lights flicked on across the neighborhood. Curtains twitched. My phone rang. It was the HOA president. "What on earth is happening?" she demanded. "Brenda just called hysterical, claiming bears attacked her in your yard." I replied calmly, "That's odd. I'm reviewing my security footage. It appears she was in my garden, trying to take something from my patio." I paused. She may have encountered some local wildlife. I have the entire incident recorded. Silence. The next day, an emergency HOA meeting was called. I presented everything. Crystal clear footage of Brenda sneaking in. The close-up of her grabbing the jar. The wide-eyed panic as the bears arrived. Her spectacular, undignified escape. The committee watched in stunned silence. Brenda sat there, crimson-faced and speechless. The outcome exceeded my expectations. Brenda received a hefty fine for theft and causing a neighborhood disturbance. She was also given a formal warning. One more complaint about me or my bees, and she'd face eviction proceedings. I received a written apology, though I suspect it wasn't entirely voluntary. Since then, life has been blissfully quiet. Brenda avoids eye contact and scurries indoors whenever she sees me outside. My honey remains safely stored. And occasionally, when I'm enjoying the patio at dusk, I spot those same bears at the edge of the woods. I can't help but smile. Turns out they're the best security system a beekeeper could ever ask for. Thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.